Good day to you. Today I'll show you how I make my creamy velvety dream of a hot cocoa. And an extra special one indeed, it's a Matcha Vienese hot chocolate. Oh yes! Of course, you can skip altogether the matcha green tea if you want. It's actually the version I prepare the most, but here I went a little bit extra. For the proportions, actually, it depends on your personal taste, so feel free to experiment and see what you prefer. Here is the version that works best for me. Oh, and it's super easy to prepare, so let me show you without any further ado. First, you should scrape the seeds from the vanilla bean and set it aside. If you want a more intense vanilla flavor, you could infuse the seeds along with the bean in warm milk for like 30 minutes beforehand. This would work best if you are making the traditional version without the matcha powder. Otherwise, just do like me and use only the seeds. But not to waste the bean though, just leave it in a closed container with some sugar and you'll have some vanilla sugar in no time ready to use. By the way, as usual, you'll find the ingredients list just down below in the description box. I write the quantities both in the European and American system. So, now that we're ready, go ahead and pour your whole milk with the double cream, or whipping cream as they say in the US, in a saucepan. I go for 1/3 of cream and 2/3 of milk so that it tastes unctuous but not too heavy. It's not like I was making a traditional and historical hot chocolate, you know, with the use of starch. I might show you actually in another video, but anyway, let's get back to our cocoa. And also, you could use plant-based milk, of course, like almond or oat milk. I think they would work best in texture for this use, but for the sleekest and most traditional results, I suggest you go for whole milk. And please, no skim milk as it's just water. So now you can turn on the heat to medium-high and throw your vanilla seeds in the saucepan. At this point, you should start whisking, as it will help give the smooth result we want to achieve. The more you whisk, and the lighter and sleekest it will get. And be careful, the milk never gets to the boiling point. If it's getting too hot, just remove it from the heat for a bit. And keep an eye on it at all times, because it can go quite fast. Then add 60 grams of dark unsweetened cooking chocolate. I usually go for a 72% chocolate, but as I'm adding bitterness already with the matcha later on, I'm going here for half 72% and half 58%, so 30 grams each. But again, it all depends to taste. I'm avoiding to add too much unneeded sugar in the process, so it's better to use a sweeter chocolate rather than adding sugar. When it's pretty much fully melted, it's time for the unsweetened cocoa powder, so around 2 tablespoons, and keep whisking. When fully dissolved, add your matcha powder at this stage, approximately 1 to 2 teaspoons. I went for 1.5 here, and you guessed it, whisk again. As it will be quite bitter at this stage with the matcha powder, I then drop 1 teaspoon of raw whole cane sugar. If you don't use matcha, you can actually skip this step, as there is really no need for sugar, only if you have a sweet tooth. So whisk until fully dissolved, and we're done for the chocolate part. Just let it rest while preparing the whipped cream. Stir it from time to time though, to avoid getting a thick skin forming on top of the hot chocolate. So now it's whipped cream time. One thing to know if you don't already is that it's super important that everything is cold, like very cold. It will help the cream getting fluffier and lighter and faster. Otherwise, it might be a big fail, but don't worry, it's very simple. So just pop your mixing bowl in the fridge for a couple of hours, or even 15 minutes in the freezer will do. I'm using agave syrup to sweeten the cream later on, so I put it in the fridge as well beforehand. Now that all your equipment is cold, even the whisk if you're a perfectionist, pour your double cream in the bowl along with the other ingredients. That is, the agave syrup and the vanilla essence. I went for a drop or two. If you don't have it, just use vanilla extract, half a teaspoon will do. Sift the matcha powder in the bowl so that you avoid any lumps, which will kinda ruin the results. You can simply use a tea bowl for that if you don't have a sift. And then, start whisking. There's definitely a lot of whiskey business going on in this recipe. As you can see, I do it by hand here, as it's a small quantity. And I actually find it faster to watch afterwards as well. So really, you don't need any equipment for this recipe, it's all basic things. Whisk the heavy cream until you get firm, stiff peaks. Oh, and don't do like me and wear an apron. Yeah, anyway. When you are done, pop it in the fridge for a couple of minutes while you reheat and re-whisk a bit the chocolate, so that it's all smooth and hot again. Serve immediately in the cups of your choice. I went here for vintage ones, antique ones actually, that I pretty much purchased only for hot cocoa. Yeah, I love hot chocolate that much. Add then the whipped cream on top. I'm simply using 2 spoons and forming quenelle shape, but you could also use a piping bag if you want it to be extra fancy. Then sprinkle a little bit of vanilla powder on top, or even sift some matcha powder for decoration. Then, last thing to do is to enjoy your cuppa. And let me tell you, it's scrumptious and so lush, absolutely decadent and so much comforting. It's like a hug from a cotton candy. Yeah, I know, I have weird comparisons. For a lighter and sweeter taste, you could also try the matcha white version with white baking chocolate. So use 60 grams as well for 2 cups of hot cocoa. The only thing which is different is that you should use 1 tablespoon of cocoa powder instead of 2, the dark one. That's it. It's a similar recipe but so different in taste. I really advise you try it too sometime. So anyway, I hope you will enjoy either of the versions of my sleek hot chocolate. Let me know in the comments because I'm quite curious to know as always. And don't forget to like this video as well as subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, so that you won't miss any new content coming. Slowly but steadily, the channel is getting bigger, so thank you for that, really. But for now, I'll see you in the next one. Au revoir, bye!